All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Bojack Horseman, Season 6, Episode 12. All right.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
The story is out.
The story
it is coming to...
Right. And Bojack, you still have to actually make the call and tell them everything.
Right. Otherwise, it's
need
going
to
to
do
be
that.
Bojack denied everything. Because they're going to run with that story because that's more spicy. Especially if they believe they have a good evidence with this.
You know, regardless, this story is going to be hella spicy.
Yeah.
And so now, make your choice.
Make your choice.
You
Yep.
know?
And I'm really worried for characters like Sarah Lynn, who might be like, oh, I'm trying to stand by him. And it's Sarah Lynn, how much... Did I say Sarah Lynn?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Princess Carolyn. It sounds so similar. Princess Carolyn being like, well, how much did you know? Were you trying to, hide things and protect him and stuff?
Yep.
But, Bojack, I believe you that you're changing. I really do see ways in which you've grown.
Now let's cement that.
But
because this is the big struggle, and like we had this whole bit where we were like, wait, where was that episode where like it showed him being
lying
like,
about
she called me and I came up here and meow meow, not asking any questions really,
It was the beginning of this season.
It was the beginning of this season. Oh, of course it was.
Of course.
Yeah, all right.
Right.
And with that fantastic then transition to him being like, I need to make some changes in my life starting now. Like, wow. Okay. All right.
Oh my gosh.
So
also, we rewatched the Sarah Lynn planetarium scene, and what's really sad is they both sound really lucid.
Yeah, because I think the heroine was like, because they didn't take it at the planetarium.
Long before that. But also, I want to throw out the idea there that in the idea of Bojack being like, I'm going to make some changes, proceeds to deny reality, starts drinking there. There's a very real possibility that if Sarah Lynn had a lethal amount of heroin in her system right there, there's no way she was saying any of those things in any kind of legible way. Like, there's no way that any of that actual final scene, actually...
No, I think that is actually, like, how it happened. I mean, the show could always choose differently, right? And then we would end up potentially finding that out.
Yeah.
Because there was that whole thing from the previous episode because I didn't understand what you meant. Because he
the
did
previous
mention,
discussion,
he did admit that, like, no, I circled back and, and like, all that stuff. But there was something where they were like, okay, but how did you cover it up? Now, granted, he didn't cover it up well, right?
Yeah.
Not well at all.
No, but he said, I did some things to cover it up. I covered my trail well. How? And then he ends up going and giving the speech, and they kind of gloss over the answer.
And
so there's more that he might have done that's off screen that has not been shown yet. So we're ready for another bombshell to come about with regards to that. So, all right, y'all.
Bojack.
Without further ado, let's get into this. Breaking news.
Shocking revelation
today
about Bojack Horseman's involvement in the overdose
What a
of
shot.
Sarah Lynn.
Bojack Horseman opens
God.
up in an exclusive interview.
Oh,
For the first
God.
time ever, we'll hear the real story of the last days of Sarah Lynn.
I left shoe leather in 6 different states and spun the scope of my career, all to get sidetracked by a sit-down with a second-rate celebrity sucker. You know full well, once I become Baxter's bride, I'm trading boardrooms for bedrooms, watches for swatches, and deadlines for bedtimes. Oh. Forget about this Bojack story. I mean, who cares, right?
Yes.
I shall miss making mincemeat of the misdeeds of mischievous miscreants, but I must focus on my new mission as I transition from Miss to Mrs. Why do you talk like that? We're from Fresno.
Of all the ways to just end that scene.
She's been doing that since she was 6 years old, and she's not going to stop now.
Not going to stop now. Oh. God, this opening just keeps getting more and more terrifying.
So given that we've kind of like skipped ahead a bit, I guess Bojack just isn't... He's not actually going to, say what happened or anything. Or maybe he will. I don't know.
He's
maybe
prepping
this
it
is
for
when he's going to do it.
I think this is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
They're really hyping up this Bojack interview. I gotta admit, I'm kinda curious.
I can't waste my energy getting worked up about that guy. I've done enough of that. Like, years of that.
Yeah, but it's not like you can just...
I need to work on my book. He'll admit to everything in the story, but nothing else. He'll trot out this sad sack routine, and everyone will feel bad for him. He'll talk a lot about his addictions. Showbiz is awful. My parents were abusive. He'll say he's changed, that he's not that guy anymore.
Yeah, you sound real done with it.
Yeah. He's got his hand stuck in the pickle jar.
Too sad is a bring down. We want to shoot for pensive.
And this will keep you from talking with your hands, which can be construed as aggressive.
Don't get defensive. Don't deny anything, and don't argue.
Whoa, am I my third favorite Bruce Springsteen
Oh, no.
song? Because I was not born
no.
in the USA, nor am I tougher than the rest.
Judah is terrified.
Do you need to be here right now?
Since your interview is leading into the season finale of Birthday Dad,
What?
I wanted to officially welcome you to the MBN Thursday Night family. To ask if it wouldn't be too much trouble for you to shout out Birthday Dad during your interview.
Why would
but
I?
only if the interview is going well. If the interview is going poorly, please do not bring up Birthday Dad.
I was never gonna bring it up to begin with. Ah!
Bojack, getting ready for the interview?
Yeah.
Oh, you've got your work cut out. People hate you right now.
I'm aware.
Anyway, Princess Carolyn, is it cool if I take tomorrow night off for a date with Maud?
Todd,
Aw.
I keep hearing about this new girlfriend of yours. When do I get to meet her?
You can probably take this part of the conversation elsewhere.
Yeah.
Should go on a double date with you and Pickles.
Pickles and I are putting our relation on a brief hiatus at the mo, but as soon as she returns from her work trip, excuse me, I'm receiving a text message, and it appears we have broken up forever.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah. Sweep.
You're saying this is me. No more lies. But since we're pre-taping it in the afternoon, we're using the set to make it look like it's nighttime.
I'm here with Bojack Horseman in his actual house. A story came out this morning about the last days of Sarah Lynn. How did it make you feel?
I felt relieved that now I can stop lying.
Are the allegations in the story true?
They are. Sarah Lynn was 9 months sober. I invited her on a bender. We spiraled together for a little over a month, and then she overdosed.
On heroin you purchased for her.
Well, I didn't purchase it for her.
There's no need to get defensive.
Trying to be accurate. I didn't purchase it at all. I just had it.
You just had heroin.
I had that heroin because I wasn't doing heroin, so I had it.
In your original statement to the police, you said she called you came to the planetarium and found her. That was a lie?
Yes.
Would you say Sarah Lynn dying was your rock bottom?
I've had a lot of what I thought were rock bottoms, only to discover another rockier bottom underneath.
That sounds dangerous.
I decided to stop waiting for something to change me. I had to make the change myself, and that's why I went to rehab. And I'm very proud to be 1 year sober next month.
Sarah Lynn dying was part of that decision.
It was part of it, yes.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of mistakes.
Can you share some of those other mistakes?
I don't think that it would be fair to the people who were affected by those mistakes, all of whom I've apologized to in private.
Do you think you'll stop making these mistakes?
I do.
God, I
It's
hope
been a
so.
lot of work, but I look back at that other Bojack and I think, who is that?
And who was he?
I came from a broken home, and I used to feel like my whole life was an acting job, doing an impression of the people I saw on television. Xerox of a person, you know what I mean? Now, I feel like me.
It must have been difficult to see those same patterns repeat themselves with Sarah Lynn.
I think that's why her death was so scary for me. She reminded me of myself.
Yeah.
Some have accused Sarah Lynn's mother of exploiting her death. When you see Sarah Lynn's face on a billboard with the slogan, "I die for a Pepsi," how does that make you feel?
Oh my God.
Sad. Angry. Feels like that's what killed her.
Not the heroin.
No, you're right. It was mostly the heroin.
If you could talk to her mother now, what would you say to her?
I wish you could know how sorry I am. Am I crazy or did I nail that?
It was good.
When she brought up Sarah Lynn's mother, she was setting me up to throw her under the bus, but then I said, I'm sorry?
You've definitely gotten your 10,000 hours in when it comes to apologizing.
People are gonna like it?
Yeah, well, we'll find out in 3 hours when it airs.
Yeah.
It's okay if you want to watch, all right? He's your friend. It's a big deal for him.
No.
You don't have to be so weird about it.
I'm in a good place. I don't want to get dragged back into that other stuff.
You know, it is a little weird that one of your best friends is a huge celebrity and you never want to talk about him. You were also married to a huge celebrity, and you never talk about him either.
You don't share your past life with me. You want to talk about weird? I've lived here 6 months, and I still haven't met your son.
But you don't really want to meet Sonny.
Of course I do.
All right, cool. Let's get dinner tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
And Hey, this is good communication.
Yeah.
I saw your interview, Bojack.
Oh.
As a recovering addict myself, I was spellbound. No reason why you shouldn't return to Wesleyan.
Wow.
And then Penny releases her story.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So I nailed it.
You
All
kidding?
the
Pinky Penguin,
alliterations.
line 1.
Pinky!
Princess Carolyn,
Hey!
you just bought us 6 more months of not having to sell ourselves to a larger media company that strips us for office furniture.
There is no part 2. It's right there in the title, The Last Days of Sarah Lynn.
Tell a few more colorful anecdotes from your years partying in Hollywood. Then an encore presentation of the Birthday Dad finale.
Makes sense.
We got what we wanted out of this. I don't think we should push it.
We're starting a dialogue.
Whoa. And Bojack is...
Make room for Remorse Horse.
That's great,
No.
Bojack. But
Listen, I'm ready to move on and go back to Connecticut, but it does feel good to be part of the conversation again.
Oh.
Yep, this is old Bojack, yep.
Then I'm kind of a dick if I don't do another interview, right?
Oh!
I wasn't gonna say it.
Thank you so much for inviting us into...
Okay. All right.
What a cool way to...
Yeah.
I want to start with another Sarah Lynn question.
Oh, here we go. I think you're addicted to Sarah Lynn.
That's really tasteful.
She called you from the planetarium?
Yes, I lied.
Weren't you afraid the police would check the phone records?
Oh, well, I wasn't thinking clearly.
But the police did check the phone records, and your story checked out. There was a 2-minute phone call made from her phone to your phone, 17 minutes before you...
Oh, shit!
Oh?
If you were with her, how do you explain the phone call?
I called myself. After I realized what had happened, I took her phone and I called myself so I could make it look like she called me. Panic mode.
And then what did you do?
I thought we were going to talk about other stuff.
What did you do after you called your own phone, Bojack?
I went outside.
And you just waited there for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Why are you asking about this?
Oh, shit.
Biscuits.
Oh,
biscuits,
shit!
biscuits.
Okay.
Oh, shit!
I'm not going to do stories anymore, but here's ammunition.
Your disgusting display of soft-pedaling sycophancy made me want to quit the journalism business altogether. 2 days
Yeah.
prior to when I planned to get married and quit the journalism business altogether.
Celebs come on my show because I make them look good. That access keeps me relevant.
With the advent of social media, celebs don't need you to make them look good. And if you don't alter your strategy soon, you'll have no career left to save.
Even if I wanted to do a hard-hitting interview,
Yeah.
what would I say?
I have a few ideas.
Yep. Yep, there it is.
You keep looking over to your manager. Can we talk about your relationship with her?
Oh, shit.
She's alive.
Did it ever get complicated?
What?
Working with her while maintaining a sexual relationship?
Well, she's always been good at keeping her personal and professional lives separate. She was an agent's assistant when I met her, and now she's running her own company. Plus, she's a great mom.
Oh, Fish. Mom, I forgot about Todd's date.
I can watch with you for a few hours.
Thank you.
Marcy Jeromenek.
Who?
In the 90s, you had a fan club.
How do you know all this?
Do you know where I'm going here?
Yes, she was the president of my fan club.
You slept with her.
We had a lovely evening together, and
Did you take a high school girl to her prom?
that was a family friend.
Did you help a teen mom sneak out of rehab? You once dated a woman who'd just woken up from a 30-year coma. Were you attracted to her naivete? You had sex with the president of your fan club. You had sex with your agent's assistant. You party with underage girls. You don't see a pattern here?
It's not a pattern.
Do you enjoy having power over women?
I don't have power over anyone. I barely have power over myself.
But you do have power over people. You abuse that power.
All these women that you mentioned, I never forced myself.
And not through force.
I can't be with any woman I might have power over. Who does that leave me with?
I'm just pointing out.
Most of the bad shit that happens in this world isn't because of wicked plots and machinations. It's
Oh,
just
here we
because
go.
we're all a bunch of stupid, hungry, horny little goons just grabbing at shit, hoping it'll press that
Yeah.
little button in our brain that says, okay, you're happy now. Not an abuse of power.
You didn't have the power in all of those relationships?
I am an addict. One of the first things that I had to
Oh, here
accept
we
was
go.
my own
Yeah.
powerlessness.
But
I
that's...
understand what I did was wrong. You're making it out like I'm a bad guy, and I'm not. I'm not that guy you're saying I am.
Back to Sarah Lynn.
No. Why?
You gave her the heroin.
I already told you yes.
Did you ever give Sarah Lynn alcohol?
What?
The first time Sarah Lynn ever got drunk, she was a child. Vodka, right?
How do you know about that?
You were
Shit,
bringing
yeah.
vodka to the set of Horsing
Yeah.
Around.
Who
Yeah.
told you all this stuff?
Oh my god.
Dr. Champ, thank you for returning my call.
But just watching Bojack in
Wait.
that interview, talking like he's a victim in all this, if the
Oh.
world only knew the things I know.
Damn.
He's a therapy horse, not a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a therapy horse.
Right.
Oh
I
my
can tell you
god.
everything.
Sharona was a drunk too, so you can't trust a thing she says.
Oh, that's cruel.
Oh my god.
Okay, when you put it all together, it looks bad.
Do you see any connection between those other women and Sarah Lynn?
There's no connection between anyone. Sarah Lynn wasn't like those other girls. I loved Sarah Lynn. It's not like I got Sarah Lynn drunk for the purpose of taking advantage of her. She was 10. I didn't even have sex with her until she was 30.
I'm sorry, what?
No, I just mean
Did you say you had sex with her?
that was later. And we were both so drunk and high, we were addicts. And the thing about addicts...
This was during your bender.
Yeah, I took her to rehab, by the way. I tried to get her help.
I just keep thinking about those 17 minutes. You waiting in the parking lot. She wasn't actually dead yet. She died in the hospital.
Right, but at the time...
Wait,
I
what?
I wonder what would have happened if you didn't take those...
Oh, shit!
What?
No, look, obviously when I did all that stuff, I
Oh!
You gave Sarah Lynn alcohol when she was a child. She then became an addict.
Well, come on, there was a lot of stuff in between.
I'm talking now. When she was intoxicated, you had sex with her. And when she was sober, you gave her the heroin that killed her. You waited to call the paramedics that might have saved her life. And you don't think you have any power over women.
So it didn't go great.
The gross part is she doesn't even care. This is just a ratings win she can use as leverage for her next big paycheck. I think people are going to see that she was just out to get me. I mean, people are going to see that, right? Okay, maybe she had some good points, but she completely undermined herself with
Bro.
I mean, we dated for like 7 years. Do
my
you think that I took
God.
advantage of you?
I think you have 3 hours before this interview airs and your world changes completely.
Yeah.
You should think about how you want to spend that time.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Okay.
What a cool combination of
Yeah.
characters interacting for a...
Sonny, it's great to finally meet you.
Okay, yeah.
Honey, come on.
Good evening, Mel.
What's this? You made varsity?
Yeah, coach moved me up for the rest of the season.
Wow,
Oh, that's
congratulations.
amazing. Why didn't you tell me?
I wanted to wait for the jacket.
Oh.
We should get Chicago-style cheese fries to celebrate.
Oh,
I'm getting cheese fries.
Ah!
Lacrosse.
What's your deal?
What?
My dad has a thing for broken women. Then he nurses them back to health, and when they're better, they leave.
Oh.
Eventually, my mom and dad are gonna get back together. They're still in love.
What? No,
Whoa.
they hate each other.
No, they don't.
They fight all the time.
What? Really?
Oh. Yeah.
Why would you say that? You're so mean.
I was gone for 2 minutes.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
God, the music is so ominous and...
Is this anything? My girlfriend was upset I gave her a CD for Christmas,
Oh.
but she gave me VD for Hanukkah.
That's nothing. Hold still.
Oh, I am so ready to never do stand-up again. Are you going to put me on your TV show or what?
I'm telling you, the network loves you. Just need you to do a screen test. It's basically a formality.
You want to hit Elma's after the show? Best tacos in L.A.
I keep telling you, it's Neptune's net.
Ugh, Malibu is for pretentious rich douchebags.
Beverly Hills. Malibu is for pretentious famous douche. You might never get a star on the Walk of Fame or a wax statue.
Right,
But
but
way,
this-
you'll always be immortalized and undisturbed in Hollywood forever.
Oh.
Unless they repaint.
I miss Herb.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I hated your show.
What?
Horsing around. Hated it.
Yeah, that's a hell of an opener.
But my baby brother loved it.
Aw.
I'd be in my bedroom sulking and I'd hear him laughing his ass off in the living room. Drugs took a lot from him, but he still had that laugh right up to the end. Now, anytime I hear anything about that show, I hear my brother's laugh.
Oh.
Thanks for that.
Oh, shit.
Want to go up?
Oh, man. I haven't done stand-up in years.
You're famous. They'll get a kick out of it even if you suck.
I don't think so.
Ali Wong, oh my gosh.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I heard a man's voice.
Yeah, Mom. Todd's over.
Is that a burglar?
He's my boyfriend. You got it, Mom.
Then keep the door open. No funny business.
Hey, do you want to watch the second part of the Bojack interview?
I don't know.
Oh.
That guy was my best friend for like 5 years. But
Yes, Todd. Yes.
I just landed at his house one night.
You ever get tired of living at the mercy of whoever happens to let you crash on their couch?
What do you mean?
Why don't you get your own place? What if
We
you
get
had
a
your
place.
own place, but you shared it with someone?
Yeah.
Like a roommate?
Or
Yeah.
a girlfriend?
But Maud, you're my girlfriend.
Oh.
What's to do? Get a second girlfriend just to live with?
No,
And by the way, you're one to talk. You still live with your mom.
Ah.
Why don't you get your own place?
Right, that's actually
Wait,
what...
I just got an incredible...
Because I just had an incredible idea, too.
Okay, let's both say our ideas at
The same time.
It's gonna be different.
3.
Ice cream
Salty
sandwich
gum.
flavored ice cream.
Oh.
Also, we should move in together.
Oh.
Oh.
I love it.
That was
Both
adorable.
of them said something different, and then she said
Yeah.
it afterwards.
The hardest part is figuring out what the hell to drink when you order a meal in a nice restaurant. Order the bucatini carbonara at Gusto and then drink what? An Arnold Palmer? Here's your steak, sir. Would you like an ice cold Dr. Pepper to go with that?
It's his last few minutes of being liked.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all right?
No. This is perfect. This is what it should be.
Yep.
Fuck. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, Diane, don't watch it. No. No.
I guess what I'm getting at is, but how can we believe you've stopped this pattern of behavior if you won't acknowledge this pattern exists?
I don't even know what pattern you're talking about.
Over these last 2 nights, you've drawn us an outline of a person, doesn't think about others. A person who puts his own needs first. Other people get hurt. Not necessarily because he means to hurt them, but because he just doesn't care. Is it a different person? Or is it you?
Oh.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay. Wow.
All right.
Wow. Oh.
Okay.
It was a fake call.
Hmm?
It was a fake call. I thought it'd be something like him, like.
Well, no. She was still alive.
Yeah, that's the part that's also like.
Like the fake call, yeah, makes sense, right? But like, she was still alive, but because you were concerned about covering for yourself, she might have been okay. Okay. I love that new development.
I
think that is absolutely fantastic, and it makes total sense because they might have even said at some point that she did die in the hospital. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't,
I don't
though,
think they did.
and I don't think they have to, because at the end of the day, if we know that Bojack basically went and covered his tracks, unless he actually knew, oh, she is dead, like unless he checked her pulse and she's gone, then doing that is absolutely putting her at even more risk, right? You know,
right.
Like,
and
so,
I would say that him doing that kind of stuff doesn't imply anything about what he did to check, but at the very least he did it as a precautionary measure,
right?
Which at the very least means that he was able to understand enough that this could look like he was involved with her death.
Right, and he doesn't want that.
And he doesn't want that, so he makes up the story and everything there.
And in order to make it so that it's I wasn't with her when it happened, you know, he does the fake phone call and then, you know, like waits the 17 minutes to say, oh yeah, it actually took me a while to get there, that kind of thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
While she's slowly just dying, basically.
Right. And I am very curious now whether the show will introduce the fact that he knew when he made those choices that she was alive or not. He definitely would have found out afterwards, though, given that he calls and then, you know, she gets taken to the hospital because she's not dead. And so then it makes a ton of sense why this would be something that would then be basically being kept from the audience, in that, like, Bojack doesn't think about Sarah Lynn, right? And it totally makes sense why not, because he's traumatized, right? As a result of him, you know, she died, right? He invited her on the bender. But the idea that it went further than that, right?
Yeah. And I think there's a few things that need to be like kind of honed in on here. One, they're having this bender moment here, and then the planetarium is basically the moment of kind of because we do have an unreliable narrator situation here. We don't know how long they were at the planetarium.
No.
Like, we don't know at what point they entered the planetarium and at what point they left the planetarium.
Right.
So she might have taken the heroin while at the planetarium. The main thing we know is that when the show decides to focus on the planetarium, it's like the room where it happened. It's it's the horror place. It's in the OP. It's in all this stuff here. The night sky in the OP is drawn in a specific way so that it can, remind you of that time. So at that time, regardless of whether or not it happened there or anything, if he was like trying to deposit her body in such a way that she would get, found in a public place or something, I don't think it rather matters. It's just the thing that he left while she was alive and decided to call after all that, like, of waiting, while he's sitting there, depending on the way things go, most likely lucid entirely, completely aware.
Yep.
Which means that he gave the heroin as well, probably.
I think so. Okay. I don't know how much use there is necessarily in going into the whole who gave her the heroin. I seem to recall it being something where that happened before the planetarium. I feel like I remember us seeing when she ended up taking the heroin.
No,
Could be wrong on that.
We never. I can tell because we just rewatched it just a little while ago, but I don't think they ever showed them actually taking the heroin specifically.
I think it was before the planetarium though, because I remember her being like, "We should do Bojack." But anyways.
Okay.
But the detail of whether or not Bojack like checked to see if she was dead before he started doing this whole thing, I think is definitely important. It's something we could find out. But I think personally, my preference is that he didn't know, and that doesn't matter, right? It's it's not that you have actual malicious intent, right? And that's why Bojack is able to sort of excuse these things for himself.
Yeah.
It's the no. You have disregard, and as a result of that, oh hey, right? And so how much more can you keep getting surprised by this, right?
Well, right, but I'm focusing on the idea that he's lied. He's lying about the lying even. Like the fact that he went through the first interview lying specifically to hide the part that he's really like been trying to hide for this whole time about those 17 minutes and all that. So he's basically saying, oh, with what was revealed so far, I'll admit to those things. But as far as with regards to coming clean and taking responsibility, he's actually not doing that at all. He's doing the opposite.
Right, because even after, regardless of whether he knew back then, he also finds out afterward in that he would know that she ended up dying at the hospital, right?
Well, he's known ever since then, like
No, yeah.
Right.
He knew that she died at the hospital, so when he comes and does all of this stuff, the show is setting it up in a way where at the beginning we're thinking, oh, okay, he's actually going to tell the truth, and then we realize he's doing his Bojack thing of like, yes, he's telling the truth, but he's also doing his spin thing. And even Princess Carolyn, starts to notice, right? Now, then she's like, oh, hey, yeah, you did a great job, and they loved it.
Let's not do another interview.
But let's not do another interview, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I think that's where like the interviewer's questions the second time really are a nice way to basically poke at the actual
underlying issue
that the show is exploring with Bojack as the sort of focus character for it.
And so that's his fatal flaw, is that he doesn't have just a craving to be liked. He has like a desperate, more unyielding need. And so when he's viewing like, I'm a part of the conversation, look how well I killed it and stuff. Princess Carolyn, you can tell she's almost like reviled by the way that he's doing this, because it's that's old Bojack. That's him. He's coming out right now because even after all the ways in which he's grown and changed, anytime we saw him in the acting success world, like the world of successful acting, we saw the bad side of him come out. Meaning that it's there, but it's just not getting fed. So
that's the other addiction he has.
Right, the other addiction. And
he's not clean off of that.
Well, not only is he not clean off of that, it's showing that at his core, at actually the part that makes him go forward, the part that makes him move with agency, he needs that. Even at the underlying level of the whole school thing, it's having these other people that can look up at him and go, wow, what a great actor, and affirm him in the thing that, his mother never did. So when he even gets the slightest hint of that, the addict comes out and he's like, I gotta get another hit of that affirmation about how good I am at this thing that was kind of pushed on me. So then when he goes up for another, like, I'm gonna get set up for a killer performance because all this is about me, she ends up giving him some hard-hitting questions, and the truth comes out that no, it wasn't just that he was putting his spin on it. He was like, great, I can get away with this now because the story is being spun in such a way that I can just make this not just be I am going to own up to the bad stuff, but I'm going to even make myself look good in the midst of that.
And that's
which
where,
is so sick. Like that's
and that's the level of self-deception that's happening there because he decided to do I'm going to, tell what happened, right? But he does it specifically in the case where basically he'll be sort of magnanimous by doing it because the other person is not going to be doing the hard-hitting questions, right? He could have called up the reporter that originally called and been like, I'm going to tell you what's the deal.
But he didn't.
Right? But he didn't.
He set up a whole thing with the... Well, I love that this character was set up long before this,
and
too.
And let's be real. He wasn't the only one who set it up, right?
Nope.
And that's where the thing that you brought up of the addiction to this, being the performer, I think is really important because Princess Carolyn was also pushing that this is what we need to do, right? Like
for the first interview,
No, right, but the first interview was where Bojack was already doing that, right?
Right.
So it's this space where that is basically what is demanded. That is not good for you, right? If you want to try and be different, basically, don't be in the place that will encourage your worst sides of yourself, right? And so, then it's going from I'm going to talk about all the bad stuff I did to, well, I could maybe do this just a little bit different. I could be in control of this, right? And hey, here we are, right? And I love that was something that then Princess Carolyn realized, and so then she goes back and we see her and Judah and the baby, and it's like, yes.
She's like, I'm gonna let him deal with this. I don't need to protect him from this anymore. This is not my place, and in a lot of ways, I'm having a little bit of realization that, I might have had some aspects of my situation not stolen from me, but tampered with. And the idea that her career and her feeling like she owes Bojack this thing is partially because of his own manipulation
and stuff. Sure.
And even if he's not like intending to do that, it's the idea that it was the end result. Yeah. And so the idea that she's like, wait, shit, I even admitted it to myself and to him. I don't think I'll ever have that kind of innocent, youthful love that can be so total and that it consumes my being ever again because I already gave it to you. I don't think that that's something that's unilaterally true for all people, but I think that Princess Carolyn came to that realization because of her own experiences and was like, that's pretty honest and
even if that's
to admit.
True, and would of course be painful to admit, that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, right? Because that just means that that she won't be able to have that again, right?
I mean, okay, but it kind of sucks that she can't have that again. It's a bad thing that she doesn't like that. Like that's what?
Okay, and this might be just going off into the weeds in a different direction. I would say that is something that almost inherently ends up happening with people to an extent, right? Like because you get older, right? You're not a young person where you'll fall that hard, right? No. Because it's different different circumstances.
Yeah, it can totally happen. I'm just talking that she doesn't wish, she's not happy with that. Like Princess Carolyn's not happy with that. She's just acknowledging the reality of it. I'm just saying that it's not necessarily a thing that has a point to be determined as being good or bad. It's just that it's a pretty unfortunate thing for Princess Carolyn, in that I think this absolutely is something that doesn't need to define like people in general when you have that kind of bad romance basically like early on that then makes you feel like you're restricted in a lot of ways from having that youthful romance again. I think you can absolutely have it happen again, but Princess Carolyn's like, I'm not going to have that anymore. Like I'm not.
Right. Sunk cost fallacy.
Well, just regardless of the thing of it being I believe it, or whether it's actually real or what have you, that's because of Bojack. That's because of the situation that they ended up basically going through together. Like,
okay.
That's not something where Princess Carolyn had no agency. It's something where Bojack had agency. Like, that's why I'm saying it's not a good thing for her.
Okay, gotcha. Shifting focus back to the Bojack stuff, because I was not expecting this direction to be one that the show would take. I love that they chose to take it. The fact that we only have 4 episodes after this is, oh boy, this is going to be some exciting stuff, because I feel like in that interview, and like as we got to see the way that Bojack was reverting to his old self, any thoughts that I had about what the ending for the show would be kind of got thrown out the window, right? Like I was thinking oh yeah, no, he did find this, better place where he was able to, be at the university away from all this nonsense, and actually he went through rehab and all that stuff. But now I'm thinking they are going for the what was the way that they talked about it with regards to the interviewer, a bit of a downer of an ending,
Well, I mean,
right?
the second you mean that when the story started splitting about Bojack in New Mexico came out, you didn't think the series would have a downturn? Or are you meaning within this episode you got thrown for a loop because you thought that people would end up liking Bojack?
No. All right, I'll clarify what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When I talk about stories having being downer stories, I don't mean the circumstances or the events that happen in the stories. I'm more talking about the growth of the characters and the tone of the story at the end of it, right?
Okay.
If a bunch of terrible stuff happens, but Bojack had, say, genuinely demonstrated that he's changed. Maybe he starts to have this bad thing where he realizes he's feeding into the fame and the performance of it, and then he's like, wait, hang on, or somebody mentions it to him, and he's like, oh, you're right, shit, yeah, and he pulls back from it or something like that, right? You could still have all of the horrible things come out of the, hey, Sarah Lynn actually died in the hospital, so what was that 17 minutes waiting? You could still have stuff of, Penny in New Mexico and all that stuff, but still have the ending point of the story theoretically be a positive one, where it's the, okay, this guy did actually manage to change, right? But makes total sense why it doesn't seem they're going with that option, because let's be real, while we could hope that would happen for someone like Bojack, that is in a lot of ways most of the time a rose-colored look at what is actually the case, in that they have the if they do change, great. That's not something we need to concern ourselves with. That's something for them, basically. And for all intents and purposes, they've done all these horrible things. They have the pattern of doing these horrible things until the point comes where we actually start to see a very consistent, different pattern. That's how you deal with them, right? And so it's not necessarily helpful to have a protagonist that does the kind of heinous things that Bojack has done, and actually have it end with and they're a changed person, right? Because then it goes into the normalization thing that Diane was talking about in season 5, right? And yet that somehow that didn't click for me until we saw it here with the way that Bojack reverted even after rehab and all of that other stuff. And so I applaud the show and take my hat off to them, because that's...
Gotcha.
I fully bought into the whole rehab thing.
Yeah, see, I think that was the point of when we had the 9th episode, was basically, or even I think it was the 8th episode, that, no, we were having a downer ending the second they had the whole thing of, do you know about what happened where he took the high school girl to prom?
Yeah.
That was the thing of where the rehab is basically the point that he's made a decision to actively address his issues, but throughout the rehab process, we had a very, very definitive look at that. He was holding on to a piece of something. He was holding on to the bottle. He was holding on to and we wanted to look at it for the hope that it was a progress thing.
Sure.
But in a lot of ways, it was more the, now that we look back on it with context, it's the, no, I'd rather, have the opportunity to glug right before making the big decision. Like it's a form of self-deception in that regard. That I'm above all the rules.
Bojack has a ton of self-deception.
Right. But that was something I feel like we honed on quite a bit in the discussions earlier. Was that Bojack keeping the bottle, for instance? I'm just using that as a frame of reference.
As an example.
There's
plenty of examples of
There's
him
plenty of other
self-deceiving.
examples,
Yeah.
but the idea that he had believed himself to be above all the typical things that would be required for somebody to change in this regard. So he holds on to that piece as like a but everybody else would actually drink from the bottle, or not me. I would never do that. So I'm going to keep this around to show that I'm above it. I can beat it. And then here we get the, hey, y'all remember that Bojack has been a series that's gone for 6 seasons or 5 seasons plus change at this point, right? So during that time, there's a lot of things that he's done, but some of them were rather sus, Some of the things are, worse than others.
Sure.
Clearly. And while in some ways the New Mexico one is not the one that's the focus of the story for the subject matter, thank goodness for Penny and Charlotte and all their whole instance there. I'm just so glad that they're not getting dragged through this there. I know they're fictional characters, but I just felt so horrified at the idea of that all going this way. And it still could happen.
It still could.
Based on what, Penny decides to do.
Well, so. and the information was like, I forget the name of the pig reporter lady.
Paige Sinclair.
Paige Sinclair, yeah. She did feed a ton of information, including stuff about something in New Mexico, right? So that was something that was asked about. So theoretically,
right, and so did our therapy horse.
Right, exactly. And I love that they brought that up because that's fucked up.
That's so fucked up.
That's so fucked up.
That's so fucked up.
Like, oh my god.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the animal part of this world being saved as a joke for then the consequences of that part that was joked about to be but actually from a technical standpoint, nope, I can tell you everything while this therapy horse is drunk completely while doing this. There are levels where Bojack suffers, I would say, not just injustice, but almost like a bad case of universal karma where it's just the world just deciding, fuck Bojack, This is one of those moments there where it's Bojack has done some heinous stuff. A lot of it has kind of been exacerbated by the circumstantial stuff.
Sure.
The fun kind of extra focus in this episode is being that there was one incident where there was no circumstantial exacerbation. It was a Bojack, no, this is not just suspect. You did something pretty messed up here. Like this is something where it's going to be, written in your regardless of intent, you killed Sarah Lynn, basically. Like you did that regardless of whether it was in a specific degree or what have you. Your actions led to the death of Sarah Lynn. Like, not the, I was so unlucky and then this all happened, as a lot of the comedy happens in this show, where it's the, Bojack was trying to, make things right, but, it didn't work out in time.
Some truly ridiculous thing happens and it's like, well, shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this one here being the final nail in the coffin, if you will, just feels so brutal in that I don't think Bojack's even going to rehab, like you're saying. Like this is the part that's the big subversion. The going to rehab even was as genuine as a desire for change as much as it was maybe like just a fear thing.
I think there's I think it would be reductive to say that it's just one of those things. Desire for change, desperation for change even, and fear and all those things. I'm sure it's a whole mixed thing. And I think if we were to talk about the vodka bottle, since that's something we've talked about in the discussion, that's not to showcase that it wasn't genuine, but it's that there's maybe some little part of him that he's not giving up. And yet even in that case, and maybe this is where it could have that hopeful bent with regards to Bojack specifically.
I do think there will still be some of that, yeah.
The decision of, or not the decision, that's getting it backwards. Whether or not the vodka bottle is a weakness point or a stake in the ground, that is something that Bojack gets to decide, right? And so, because it is all about what you do now, right? There are all the ways in which you will, your actions now will be influenced or informed based on past behavior and things like that, or fear of the future, any number of things, right? What are you going to do now? Well, right now, you're an addict to the Hollywood space, to performing, to doing all of those things. You got to throw it all away.
Just like the bottle we should have thrown away all the way back then.
Well,
you got to throw it all away.
You gotta go full, Charlotte and or the guy that like went and decided to be a monk out in the woods, right? Like that's this is a problem that goes deep, and the thing is, congratulations, you dealt with sobriety, like you achieved sobriety, right?
And you're probably about to throw it all away.
You're probably about to throw it all away. But as of right now, you do still have that. Great.
Yep.
Awesome. And if that gives you new material for your stand-up, where you're like, yeah, what the hell am I supposed to do when I get a really good steak? A cold glass of Pepsi, or Dr. Pepper or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. There's sort of a a weird comedy to that, while at the same time,
it's your weapon now, no longer something that's a weapon against you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so now that, okay, hopefully you'll end up realizing you maybe have some other addictions that you need to deal with, right? Substances have been, for now vanquished. Fantastic. You're on top of them, right?
Yep.
So are we gonna go to maybe those other places that you don't want to acknowledge,
really don't
right?
want to acknowledge,
Because the rehab thing was absolutely something that he was kind of forced to, not in a literal sense, but he hit a point that was so low that it's I guess I have to try this, right? Like I have to actually give this a shot. And, are you going to, because these things are things that aren't as noticeable as like actual physical substances, you might not get that same level of force, right?
No,
to
probably
confront
not.
them.
Yeah.
And so what's your decision going to be? I don't think it's, looking great for him right now, but, I want to hope, but yeah.
Yeah, I like Diane's facial expressions and her stuff that she was doing with her mouth and lips and stuff. They're like,
right, like it's the I'm not liking what I'm seeing here, but it's there's that one corner of her mouth that's not turned down, right? Like, yeah.
She's feeling where Bojack is at in this situation in some weird way, because Diane is. This feels dark to say, but because she was basically Princess Carolyn 2.0 to Bojack.
Okay.
Back when, another basically younger woman working for him that was trying to basically make him look good. And
yeah, that's
like,
yeah.
I think you're the best thing ever. I'm gonna put all this effort to invest in this relationship I have with you because you feed into the thing that I so desperately need from other people. She might know him in a way that maybe even Princess Carolyn doesn't know.
Oh, sure.
And I am very excited to see them connecting after all this has kind of gone through here.
Yeah.
Because there's probably going to be some general things that will keep other characters away from Bojack for a little bit of time. But I really, really, really want to see, I desperately want to see a Diane Bojack conversation now, because I think she saw something in him that she recognized in herself.
Oh, yeah.
And something that could give him a key out of this in the same way that Diane has found enough competency in the place that she's in to move past her stuff, even though she's also kind of not gotten away from it, as evidenced by her conversation at the table with
the son.
With Guy's son,
Yeah, which I love how that went.
That went so... it
like,
was written so well in that I was so gripped the second he left the table. Just every word.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And the like, oh, I won the argument. Oh, great. I won the argument.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm curious, and this might seem like a...
Oh, make a prediction.
Not even Well, no, not even a prediction.
Oh, what is it?
And not even a tangent. But this feels like something where it comes down to on some level, an identity problem for Bojack.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe
Usually,
it's a bit of projecting because I know I struggle with identity a lot.
Well, I think
personally.
I think
most people do.
I was gonna say to clear it up a little bit. Identity doesn't have to be like so black and white or very like hired in and stuff like that. Most things are tied to identity in a lot of ways. So yeah.
But Bojack basically doesn't have an anchor. He has a bad association with ships. But when the reporter or the interviewer started bringing up all these questions, right? And she's going for a different tactic now, right? And so there's that point where Bojack starts to like get defensive and like, well, hey, you're skewing things and whatnot. And the thing is, yes, that is absolutely a thing that she is doing. That's part of her job, right? Because they don't actually know what happened, so they're trying to figure it out. Now, is it done with a desire to make you look bad? Absolutely. Now, the thing is, I think it would be easy for us to then take what's happening here now and be like, oh yes, Bojack has always been a terrible person. Yes, he has always been a terrible person. But that doesn't necessarily undo the things and the struggles that he was going through in those earlier seasons. When he goes to Diane at the end of season 1 and he's like, I need you to tell me I'm a good person, right? Do we have a deeper understanding of maybe, some of the places where that came from? Absolutely.
Well, we know exactly where it came from, yeah.
Does that make it so that it wasn't genuine in that moment where that was something that he truly did need?
Doesn't matter.
Well, I would say, so I would say that it was still a genuine thing. And the reason why Bojack ends up having a problem with this, great, you dealt with the substance addiction. Awesome, right? And, ongoing thing you have to deal with and all that stuff, right? But as a result of him not properly figuring out who he is and his identity, then when those things come about that basically like spin him around a bit, he doesn't necessarily know if he himself has truly made progress, I think.
Sure.
And as a result of that, it's very easy to go back to old habits because that's what's familiar, as opposed to being like, no. This is a thing that I have concretely dealt with. I can say that with confidence. And so that then gives me energy to deal with the other things. That's what the sobriety is at its best state, right? This is a thing I dealt with. I'm, going on a year sober, right? Oh, you have a bunch of other issues that maybe you weren't aware of or looking at or things like that, and now you need to deal with? Great. Hopefully you can take that sobriety win and use it for these other things too.
Right.
Whether that will happen or not, I would put it as being very low likelihood.
No, I mean, yes, I agree. I put it very, very low likelihood. I like the idea of framing it in that way because when he had the moment at the end of season 1, he was begging Diana. It wasn't just like, I need this from like I need you to say this. He needs anybody who he has given value to speak into his identity to say this.
Right.
And I do think that even something I think we discussed all the way back then, there's a reason why he'd prefer a woman to say it specifically.
Absolutely.
And what the thing that the reporter was getting at was that he does seek power over women specifically in these cases because on some level his power he felt was robbed by a woman. By his mother.
And so he's trying to
take it back. And this is all subconscious stuff. This is all very low, like conscious awareness kind of things that he's dealing with here. But it ends up bleeding out into all the areas where then he does the actual problematic behavior. Because I think seeking affirmation as a person is just a part of being human. Even if it's done to an extreme, desperate way, that's just showing where the unhealthiness is and where it needs to be addressed.
Even the standpoint of like, if properly acknowledged and interacted with in healthy ways and such, there's a way in even which your desire to be in a position of power over women could be a fully healthy thing, even with regards to sexual relationships, and it just gets kinky or whatever. But
that's not what this is. So,
but that's not what this is.
Yeah,
because you're not.
So that's why I wanted to bring up the idea that at that moment there, everything that he's done since then, every single thing has always been in this craving of desperate, like, need to be liked. Yeah, it's like do I want to be liked? Yes. Do I need to be liked? Well, it's not like it's a, complete, everyone's calling it crazy need. The Michael Scott quote from The Office, But it is that. It is absolutely that. And because of that, Bojack is not just selfish. He is the poster child, if you will, for selfishness in a way that he doesn't actually think about other people.
Right.
And thus, all these things that he's done has been through that lens. So I don't think this is something where he has had some kind of revisionist thing that's come through and undone all the progress, because all of that was, again, also through the lens of wanting to be liked. He saw the problem, and almost in a way that we talked about the...
use selfish or bad motivations if that's what you need in the moment, and then work on fixing them as you go.
Right. Yeah. So thus, the Bojack situation is complicated in that he never really hit rock bottom ever since, I would say, that point when he was like, I need to be told I'm a good person.
And like the line that he said of I used to believe in rock bottom. Well, that I think was where like certainly after that point, but around that point is where he started to do the whole performance thing. I think that was a truly like genuine thing there of him realizing it can always get worse. You know.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, and that's, well, hey, it's about to get worse, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but it's going to get way, way, way worse. We did not see any fallout from the actual interview because the interview is not over.
Right.
We have
and
not
circulating and all that stuff.
We have not seen the ways in which all the characters have reacted and responded to this. We've just seen the beginnings of them actually seeing the interview and getting into this here.
Yep.
But the part that I'm just so glad that they did here was that Bojack, as he is the person who's the scared little boy that wants to be liked by people so much that he will put himself into any situation to do that. He'll abuse others. He'll abuse himself. All that is then getting put on display. And from that perspective, the hope I have is that even if society ends up hating him, which I think they probably will.
Absolutely.
There's going to be some people who are going to see the sad side of Bojack here. And not sad in just you are a sad, strange little man. You have my pity. It's the Bojack, I saw all along that this is who you were. And that's why I really want the Diane conversation, is that she's kind of seen him the right way, even though she's acted in ways that I wouldn't agree with in response to that. There's the thing of where she's always probably had in her mind I could stop this. I could do something that would force him to basically not have any choice to end up, I accidentally hurt more people. And she feels guilt watching this interview here of, I saw this person.
And I didn't do something.
And I didn't do something.
Okay.
But not for the sake of stopping this menace, but of basically giving this sad man basically the opportunity to fully hit rock bottom, crash, burn, and then he could be revived from that. And so the idea is that she maybe feels some level of like, I could have saved you. Maybe.
And
I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of a reach.
I think that's one perspective, and I think that could have an element of truth to it in how it
maybe just an
Diane's thing there. Yeah. But let's get why stop there? Let's go at the other direction of it. In that Diane has kind of described it in season 1, right? With the people like to look at you and basically know that this person's a terrible person, but that makes me feel a bit better about myself.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
That's one of the reasons that Diane stuck around. That's one of the reasons why Diane kept trying to help him, because then it's yes, I am condescending to help you, you terrible scumbag of a person. That makes me feel a bit better about myself. And if that's something that enabled Bojack to hurt more people, how does that make you feel about yourself? And that's where I think this direction of things for Bojack is very extreme and gets at some good societal commentary about how these sorts of things maybe could be better dealt with rather than the way that they often are.
Sure, yeah.
While at the same time, it's still being something where, this Bojack person, him being selfish, that's not new.
No.
That's not unique. Let's be real. Everybody is, right?
Or
to varying degrees, right?
To not try and just quote Bojack here in the interview. It was like everybody does that thing where they're trying to press the button that makes them happy and stuff. Bojack's right. But the difference is that Bojack, there are people that live with that to probably even the extreme degree that you are. I can't believe I'm talking like this like a fictional character is actually listening to me. But the idea is that there's ways in which you can genuinely not just seek help, but you can actually lean on people and be vulnerable. And I think that that's where Bojack has only done that when it's convenient. Like, he hasn't really sought to change. The rehab thing was almost in some ways a did you catch it kind of thing of he's doing this because it kind of gives him another platform to look good. Like, it's another place where he can be like, look, I'm doing the right thing,
Or at the very least to himself.
Or at the very least to himself. Yeah, it's an audience of one.
And the thing is,
and
by the way,
that's still something.
There is nothing wrong with that.
No,
right?
No.
So it's not the, like,
but it's
and maybe
not
that's
necessarily a genuine desire to change, you know?
Okay. I think that
it
doesn't necessarily have to be true.
True. You're right.
If we want to then take that into the conversation of power,
oh,
right?
Yeah,
because Bojack is like, well, why is that important? Well,
Well,
if we want to say that basically everybody's selfish, right?
Sure.
And it's something that is not necessarily kept in check in like by yourself, right?
No, because some people aren't super aware.
Yeah, and let's be real.
Healthy
most everybody will, and I say most just because I don't want to speak in absolutes.
Yeah.
Most everybody will have their own different ways in which they
medicate.
Well, let their selfishness run rampant.
Ah, I see.
You know,
right.
That's not the question.
No.
It's if you have something like that where that is happening. Oh, hey, and then on top of that, you have a situation where you were in more of a position of power.
Right.
Then it's the that could end up, if it were like that, but there was no difference in power, then great, equal playing field, kind of, right? Even though that's a theoretical that could never exist fundamentally, right?
Yeah.
But now in this situation where it's like, okay, you add those two things together, maybe that causes a bit more issues, and so maybe as a result of that, you would, it would maybe be more helpful even for you to be in a situation where maybe it's not quite like that, right? Where maybe even the power dynamic is reversed a bit, Now, granted, there's problems that happen whenever Bojack has been in those situations. His mother, Anna Spanakopita, right? Like, those were bad, right? Mm-hmm. But, it's...
It's just fun to see the writing on the wall all throughout the series.
Yeah.
In a story that was actually pretty episodic for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Had a nice overall character linear story for not just our main character, but for most of the other characters. Yeah. And still did the seasonal, conflicts that mostly resolved themselves within the seasons so that we can have that gripping little, wave of drama, action, excitement, then, rising tension, lowering tension, all that. So now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
4 episodes left to go.
Just not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time. But for Bojack as a series and what we could get into in 4 episodes.
We could get into all kinds of stuff.
Well, any of these episodes end up being remotely like an 11 episode.
Oh, yeah.
Which let's use your key phrase recently. Be real here.
Uh-huh.
Episode 15 of this story is going to be the episode 11 to end all episode 11s. I 100% agree with it. But I think this is where we've been pulled for we're in the pit now, is that episode 16 is going to be actually probably one of the most beautiful, painful, but transcendental episodes of the series.
Yeah, let's be real. Episode 16 is not going to be let's, rescue Todd from the improv cruise ship.
Nope.
That's not.
Nope. That's
we're
not
not
where
getting
we're at.
that. There is no future season that we need to properly get that breather for and and prep for, and so that we can actually look forward to. No. It's gonna be this, and then it's gonna be over.
It's gonna be heavy, deep, and real.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be somewhat hopeful.
I would love for it to be.
I think the reason why it's going to be hopeful, though, I think the reason why it's going to be maybe a lot, is that we're going to not break the fourth wall, but we're going to kind of break the fourth wall a little bit.
Sure. I mean, the show itself is very self-aware, and I think it has helped it a lot. And I think the season 5, oh hey, what is are we normalizing? Like, that's a great example, of it being that, right? So in a lot of ways, I feel like that's if I were to talk about, if I were to theorize like the
finale.
Well, not the finale, but like the highest possible execution would be if they somehow managed to make it hopeful, right? With all of this shit that they are not pulling punches on, right? To fully let that sink in and everything, so it's not normalizing, and then with that somehow make it hopeful, right? I don't know how, but
I think they can't do that personally without first destroying us. I think they've been pulling punches actually with all the 11s. Up until now,
which is a crazy,
isn't that?
Sure.
But it just makes sense, right? That's how you end a series like this. Is you basically don't just let Bojack hit rock bottom. You
plunge right through.
You
go right
shatter him
through the mantle into the core.
We are shattering him and the rock bottom with it, and then it's here's the pieces. What do you think someone could make out of these,
Sure.
Like that level of like despair, but also hope, I'm very excited. Probably because also this next episode is probably going to be the last funny episode I think we'll get in the series. Like,
I think the next episode's gonna be funny.
I think it's gonna have some funny. Yeah, this episode had funny.
Well, sure, have some.
Right. But I mean, the next 3 episodes just will not have comedy. That's my point.
I think there will still definitely be comedy.
There'll still be some?
Yeah, no, BoJack as a show does such a good job with the.
That's where I'll be impressed by. If they somehow manage to make the finale.
They will. They absolutely will.
Oh,
yeah, because that's the dark comedy of it, right? It's the, we're going to be going right to that, fourth wall breaking thing where we have to have the dark comedy along with it so that the audience can actually digest it and not do a BoJack and turn away. Right? So. Yeah.
And
it's wild.
And we have someone on our Discord that said this many times, but like, there's an episode that we still haven't watched that's their like one of their favorite episodes, and we got talking tons about just how much we love BoJack Horseman as a series.
And they're like, but that's just keep
watching.
Keep
and
watching.
I'm just feeling like every time we go through one of these episodes, I'm like, it's not this one.
Well, and that's why I was so shocked when they did the multiple perspectives, keep going back, leading up to the call from Charlotte and everything. I'm like,
sick.
Well, it was awesome, but it's like, wait, you can afford to do this?
You have time for this?
You have time for this?
Yeah.
Like, BoJack as a show has such a fantastic understanding of pacing and like all of that stuff that it's like, how is the real estate there? Like that, what do you understand that I don't?
The people on the writing team and or the directors and just the staff behind this are just built different. They have had enough years with their story and their characters that they're like, we can nail this. Like, we've had all the pieces there, and in some ways it's kind of fun that this show actually got 6 seasons. Like, it almost hit the trifecta, like not the trifecta, but the quintessential apotheosis of 6 seasons in a movie. But like to reference a couple other things.
Yeah.
But
and if you think about it, given that it's 16 episodes for the final season, it kind of
did. Right, exactly. Yeah. 4 episodes is kind of a movie, know. So
25 minutes each.
Yeah. But all right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about any other shows in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel. So yeah, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.